On Larry King Now, a skateboarding champ turned worldwide business mogul. It's Rob Dyrdek.
It's what skateboarding is. It's a lifestyle, right? And it's a very expressive sport, too. And that independence and expressiveness pulled me away from team sports.
So entrepreneurship has taken over your life.
Oh, yeah. I look more at myself as a creator.
Plus, you would sweep Donald Trump's apprenticeship show.
They've tried to get me on there so many times.
It would be a lot.
But I'm too busy running an empire over here.
Before it began. Well, you don't need it, right? You would fire Trump. All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Rob Dyrdek, professional skateboarder turned entrepreneur, producer, actor, TV star. He created Street League Skateboarding, an international competitive skateboarding series. He's known for his MTV TV shows, Rob and Big, Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory, and Ridiculousness. Ridiculousness, if I can say it, airs Thursdays at 10 p.m. on MTV, while Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory is in its final season. That airs Thursdays at 11, also on MTV. We'll get to skateboarding in a while. When did you become this industry?
I think even when I was very first became a professional skateboarder, I used to always say, I gotta treat it like a business, it's my career. And this is way before even the idea of understanding that you can be a personal brand. And I just think that sort of spirit, I was what I like to call raised by entrepreneur wolves, right? Where my influences at an early age were all of the closest people around me started companies. So it's
Where'd
sort of
you grow up?
In Ohio, right? So
were they all successful?
No, they weren't, right? So and some of them I use as examples of not what not to be, right? So, but it was from starting skateboard companies to clothing companies to retail stores to restaurants to clubs. Like this inner circle I had was very entrepreneurial. So it instilled in me in a very young age that that's just what I was meant to do. And
Rob and Big was the big thing for you, though, right? Now, what was Rob and Big?
Well, initially sort of as a professional skateboarder, your career is marked by these video parts, right? And we had a huge one for DC Shoes, and I just knew that my skateboarding wouldn't be that good. So I wrote this idea of a skit of where we go everywhere and skateboard and get kicked out and by security guards. So now I'm gonna bring my own security guard to deal with security guards. So now I would go to a place, they'd come to kick me out, and they'd have to talk to my 6'6" homie instead of talking to me. Yeah, and it kind of blew up in skateboarding, and then MTV, or Jeff Tremaine from Jackass and Ruben Fleischer had approached us about doing a television show, and I was like, oh, I don't have time for something like that. And then we ultimately developed that, and then that's really when I began to understand and learn what media was and how to create it.
Now, your current show, Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory, is very similar to Rob and Big, right?
Right.
And that's in its final season.
Yeah.
What can we expect?
Well,
give me a hint.
It's kind of a very extended show, of doing crazy things. But
right.
I'm breaking the world record for jumping a car backwards, ramp to ramp. I'm going to jump at 90 feet for the series finale. Me and Big Black go on a journey of becoming butt brothers, where I go support him to get his prostate checked. And it's one of the most awkward things I've ever been involved in my life.
I would say.
If you can imagine, things get really it's all funny when you're making it, and we go and get his butt gold-plated and get it all like smoothed up to get ready for the presentation factor, and then we got to go to a doctor, and then he's got to go in there and get dug out, And
you're not kidding.
Yeah, and I said, thank God I'm like white, it's not runs in my family, and I'm under 40 because I'll probably die before I let a man stick his finger in my butt.
Well, someday it'll happen to you, Rob.
And you trying to tell me, Larry, that they have not come up with a technology
besides
a finger?
However, if you only do the PSA, if that's all you do and you don't do the finger, as the late General Schwarzkopf discovered, as he told me, he was a general, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor was a lieutenant colonel who was afraid to put his finger into into Schwarzkopf.
Seems logical.
And Schwarzkopf had prostate cancer, which
man.
they didn't discover because you got to do the finger. So
I'm trying to tell you that there's not an app this day and age on my cell phone. I can't just lean back, clear. You know,
Rob, face it. It takes a minute. In fact, certain people, Rob, like it. And I don't want to get to that. I'm told you're holding a douchebag intervention. What the hell is that?
Well, here's the thing. My cousin, he was my assistant, started a clothing company, went on to make millions of dollars, incredibly successful. You know, one of the great stories of the Fantasy Factory. But now he's you know, driving a Rolls Royce. He got all fake teeth. We call him a man dime, you know, a perfect 10, and he's a douchebag. You know, and the reality of it is we had to step in and do a douchebag intervention, right? And
what's the definition of a douchebag?
Well, it's where you're trying too hard, right? And you're kind of doing all these things that you think make you look cool rather than just being naturally cool.
So it looks stupid.
It's point blank. When you're standing on a Rolls Royce shooting a photo of yourself, throwing money into the air, and you're a 20-something kid from Ohio,
you're a douchebag.
you went too far.
You've had a beef over the year with the Comedy Central host Daniel Tosh. What's that all about?
You know, I think what it is more than anything is there's, from his perspective, which I get, it's like I took his show and copied it, did an MTV version.
Did you?
Ridiculous. I didn't, right? So who I did copy, full bore and full-fledged, is Vinny DeBona, right? Like, I had initially read an article about America's Funniest Home Videos global syndication business, and this was during Rob and Big, right? And so at the time, when they wanted me to do a new show because of Rob and Big, because we weren't doing Rob and Big, I sold them Ridiculousness, right? Because I was like, man, like, I shoot it in a studio, so easier to do, and if I get to 100 episodes, I've got a global syndication, I'll get paid forever, right? So they had initially offered me to do that show straight to series and my own reality show, and that's when I wrote Fantasy Factory, right? So we decided not to do Ridiculousness and do Fantasy Factory since it was more in our wheelhouse of what we created.
What did that have to do with Tosh?
Well, what had happened is, by the time my Ridiculousness came out, it was already after the first season of Tosh came out, right?
Tosh.
So what had happened is then he got out of pocket, and then I made the brutal mistake. We're normally like, what do I care, right? Like, it's like one of 50 things that I do. But I made the mistake, the uncanny mistake of coming out of pocket on social media, right? Where I just said some like, yeah, like, I'll see you when I see you type of thing, right?
So he got ticked.
No, then it turned into this like whole like, you know, thing about this beef between us, you know what I mean?
But you know, that doesn't hurt you, does it? Whatever they print comes out good.
To me, it's more bothersome out of the idea of, regardless of how much I know, like, I had done the idea way before he ever came out and sold it to them. It's like, you still can't convey that. The reality of it is my show came out after his, and it created this.
It is what it is.
This thing, yeah.
He's an amazing figure when you think about it. He's Rob Dyrdek. And next we travel back to his skateboarding roots. Stay with us.
What's up with you guys?
Me and him were just talking, and I've been struggling with...
With what?
What is this?
It's just a behind-the-scenes funny photo.
I don't see you smiling.
He's not smiling, man. He's throwing money on his Rolls Royce with a leopard jacket and diamond sunglasses.
It's a joke.
I'm about to say something,
Go ahead.
and it's from a deep, deep, deep place of love, because I love you, okay?
Yep.
If this will make you feel more comfortable. I think you might be getting kind of douchey.
That was a clip of Rob's show, Fantasy Factory. He is an enormous hit in so many circles. Reality TV does everything. But let's go back to where it all began. Professional skateboarder at age 16. By the way, professional skateboarder. How does a skateboarder make money?
Well, you know, back then it was very different. You know, you sort of, you built your name in the streets, you eventually turned pro, you had a signature board, you get royalties, you start to get sponsors and endorsements. And nowadays, back then, you know, in December of '91, I sold one board, signature board, and got a check for $2. You know, today these kids make millions of dollars.
Who's the #1 skateboarder when you started?
When I started out, man, it was Tony Hawk and Christian Hosoi, you know. And,
Tony's still around?
Tony paved the way, you know. It's
I know
like
Tony.
he's the first true millionaire, like mainstream skateboarder that showed the world and especially our industry, like, hey, it's possible to elevate to the mainstream.
Why did you choose skateboarding? I mean,
It's what skateboarding is. It's a lifestyle, right? And it's a sport that's driven by progression, right? It's the beauty of it is you make it your own, right? And there's many ways to do it, and it's a very expressive sport too. And that independence and expressiveness pulled me away from team sports like soccer and baseball at the time, and really drew me to skateboarding.
it's dangerous though, isn't it?
I don't think it's any. The statistics will tell you it's no more dangerous than football or baseball or basketball. It just innately can be if you choose to push that limit.
You ever been badly hurt?
I haven't, man, and I've done a lot of dangerous stuff, you know.
Really?
And
You've done the twirls and the twists and the...
I mean, I've grinded a 20-stair handrail. I've taken it to the next step of doing crazy car stunts and getting attacked by sharks and tigers and all kinds of crazy
Do you
stuff.
ever think you're weird?
I think I'm unique. You know what I mean? I think there's a sense...
weird in the good sense.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt I am, and I live a very unique path and have created quite a world that I could have never imagined. You know, you don't dream this existence.
What's the mindset of a skateboarder?
I think when it comes to understanding, tackling fear and relentless problem solving, right? It's like the reality of learning tricks. You have to try it over and over and over and over and keep adjusting every little aspect of your body to ultimately get it to work. And then when you get it to work, it's like this incredible, like, oh my God, I can't believe I learned this. And that progression drives you even further, you know.
What is street league skateboarding?
What I basically did was finally organize the world of professional skateboarding, you know, where the X Games and the Do Tour and all these things aren't really representative of a league or...
So you have a league, standings, and...
Right, so I basically own the NBA or the Major League Baseball of skateboarding.
How many teams?
It's more like golf or tennis, right? Where I've
Individuals.
signed, it's individuals. I've signed the 20 best guys in the world exclusively to my league.
And where is the competition held?
We held them in arenas throughout the world. Last year we did a global tour with ESPN and Nike as our title sponsor.
And you have judges?
Right, so I created a unique judging system and a new scoring format that basically it makes it easy for anyone to follow, and it's a format much like what happened with poker when they finally started showing the whole cards. It became easy to understand and learn, or how when they organized the UFC into weight classes and stuff like that. That's what I've done for skateboarding to allow it to elevate into a sports entertainment property.
Are you now a skateboarder who's an entrepreneur, or are you an entrepreneur who skateboards?
I'm an entrepreneur who skateboards, yeah.
So entrepreneurship has taken over your life.
Oh yeah, I mean it's on every last level, and I look more at myself as a creator. You know what I mean?
If you never skateboarded again, you'd be fine?
Oh yeah, I mean I don't even skateboarding. I could have stopped skating 10 years ago and been fine. You know what I mean? Even sort of the business that I created before I ever got into TV or any of that, I was long.
So
fine.
what do you love?
I love to create, man. Whether that's a television show, whether that's a brand, whether that's a league, whether that's a cartoon. You know, you gotta understand, I have a cartoon coming out on Nickelodeon in February as well. Second season of the Wild Grinders, the skate gang I was in. Wild Grinders, the gang I was in as a little kid, and you know, on top of launching now the 5th season of Street League. And
Well, how old are you, Rob?
39.
You married?
I am not.
Not. You're not cut for marriage, are you? Because you're too...
I don't know. You know,
You're
I'll
hyper
tell you
into
this.
the world,
I'll
aren't
tell you this, man. You have to, someone like me, I'm into, as I get older, I'm understanding scalability and processes and limits, right? And in order to be able to do what I want to do at an efficient level, I have to have a ton of really highly skilled people that are under really sound processes that I can oversee. And I think I have to adapt that to life, where if you do, in fact, want to get married at some point, you've got to look ahead to where you can slow down, because, you know, working at this pace and doing this much, it wouldn't be the most ideal thing for...
When did you move out here?
I quit high school at 16 and moved to California to become a professional skateboarder.
Quit high school?
Yeah.
You're such a bright guy. Why would you quit high school?
You know, at the time, I don't remember the story. My mom says I sat down with the principal, the counselor, and them, and convinced them that I didn't need to go to school anymore, and they all bought it and let me leave.
After the break, the amazing Rob will give us his keys to entrepreneurial success. Don't go away. We're back with Rob Dyrdek. He's into everything street league skateboarding. Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory, Ridiculousness. The Fantasy Factory is in its final season, Thursdays at 11 on MTV. He's the star of MTV. You have to have fun in all your ventures too? Is that part of this?
I think so.
It's not just solid business, right?
Yeah, I mean it's never solid business, but I just enjoy seeing stuff come alive in the process of creating and watching young other talented people get the help to get focused to realize their potential. You know.
Does money drive you? Money
doesn't drive me. You know, it's because you got to understand all money will ever do is give me more balance and more security to do more, right? There's a peacefulness, and I'm sure you understand this, of not necessarily needing to ever think about that aspect of your life anymore and focus on what you love to do is a blessing, you know.
You know, you would sweep Donald Trump's apprenticeship show.
They've tried to get me on there so many times.
It would be a lot.
But I'm too busy running an empire over here.
Before it began. Well, you don't need it, right? You would fire Trump. Do you have an entrepreneur's hero? Is there someone in the world of entrepreneurship?
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people I look up to. I think, you know, one of the people that I really respect and love is Lorenzo Fertitta who owns the UFC, and just how there's this air of transparency, right? It's like the great entrepreneurs that I love the most is like they'll be honest about everything, and they'll tell you exactly how it is, good or bad, and will just put a stake in the ground on an opinion but not drive it home. And it's like that's the stuff I respect the most.
How do you stay humble?
To me, I think you stay humble by not really ultimately taking any of it that seriously. You know, it's like you get more excited about these new opportunities and doing new things, and I get excited about being healthy. When I go on a 12-day run of like, you know, trying a new health kick and it all working, it's like, look, I got this incredible energy. I just want to share it with everyone.
You learn from your failures. You had to have some failures.
I have had so many failures at so many levels, and I think even I only really started to get it and grow up a year and a half ago when I finally brought on a CEO for my company, right? Where he really began to help me learn to continue to grow, and then start surrounding yourself with mentors and really smart people that have done what you're trying to do or what you may want to do, so you can learn from them. And that really revolutionized sort of my entire process, because before I was making millions, losing millions, making millions, buying this, doing this. You know, I wrote, produced, financed films, lose a couple million, like I was so driven that it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to get things done, you know. What did you think would be the biggest hit, was your biggest failure? Or was there something you said, this can't miss, and it missed? I would say when I wrote, produced, and financed, starred, cast this feature film about skateboarding, right? You know, finally the first authentic, I spent $2 million of my own money. I was like, there's 10 million skateboarders in the world. All I gotta get is a few of them into the theaters, and I'm making a ton of money. Was it a plot, a story? Yeah, 100%, like full story. What was the name of the movie? Called Street Dreams. What happened? And then I put up all my own money because everyone in Hollywood said, nah, there's not a market for this. All right, fine, I'm gonna do it myself then, right? So then I go out and they would only offer me DVD distribution deals, right? I made it rated R. They're like, it's rated, a skateboard film made as rated R. No one's gonna put this in theaters. So then I said, okay, I'm putting it in theaters myself. So then I four-walled it, put it in 40 theaters, went on this like massive marketing campaign, multi-platform, let's go. And I got a check, I think, last week for $2.30, right? And it's the first time I got a single dollar towards that $2 million. And I was like to my finance guys, I'm like, oh, this is incredible. And they're like, it's what? It's a $2 check. I'm like, yeah, but we're finally going, we at least took a shot at it after like 5 years. We took $2 off, yeah, like so. I've had some big ones even recently, you know. I grew up where the skateboard company that I turned pro for was from Dayton, Ohio. And 20 years after they started, they sold to Burton snowboards, and they were having a lot of trouble, and I went out and bought that thing because I was like the kid from Ohio. 20 years later, comes around and buys the company, and I got slapped across the face in reality of like emotionally purchasing a company and being faced with the hornet's nest on the inside of trying to turn it around and evolve people that have been doing something for 20 years. It's a brutal lesson that I've learned this year that I will never face again.
How many Americans skateboard?
According to the latest poll that I saw, it was 6.3. So it's been as many as 10 million. I think it fluctuates. I think that's one of the big movements from the sustainability side, why I've built so many skate parks all over the world and continue to be one of my major movements is building places for kids to skate and standardizing it.
Is the number one injury brain fall? No?
None. It's almost non-existent in the entire thing. It's I would say it's probably 10 times in football that it was in skateboarding.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Rob, what a guest. Rob Dyrdek. When we return, Rob will take your questions and we'll play a game of If You Only Knew. Don't go away. We're back with Rob Dyrdek. Don't forget, Ridiculousness airs Thursdays, 10 p.m. on MTV, and Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory is in its final season, airing Thursdays at 11 p.m., also on MTV. Some social media questions for you. AEMs on Instagram asks, when was the first time you knew skateboarding was your passion?
I think the moment I saw my sister's boyfriend with 4 bandanas on his right leg, 4 on the left, 4 on his right arm and left arm, and spike belt across his chest, and he skateboarded, it was for me.
How old were you?
11 years old.
Cheryl Lee Gravitt on Facebook wants to know, did you ever get scared doing a trick?
I have. You know, I've done a lot of dangerous tricks, and you got to have a lot of pressure on you and fight. You got to basically, what I call, you know, break the fear threshold to even attempt it, you know.
What was the best trick you ever saw?
Witnessed, I went to China and watched a friend of mine, Danny Way, who's one of the greatest skateboarders of all time, jump the Great Wall of China. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Come on.
Yeah, it's incredible.
How?
Like giant ramp, like literally like a 90-foot tall ramp that goes to like a 80-foot gap, and he just over the Great Wall of China. It was amazing.
What was his funeral like?
I'll tell you what, that guy is like Superman. His story has yet to be told the right way.
At Rodney McCarthy asked via Twitter, what's the worst prank you ever pulled on, and who was it on?
I'll tell you, the worst thing I ever did is I fake got arrested for April Fool's Day to my mom. And I told them when I was in the...
Why would you do that?
I thought it'd be cute, and I said, if she starts getting upset, get me out of the car. So she is bawling, and I'm like, get me out of the car. I'm screaming to get me out of the car. She's like, no. And I had, Mom, I am so sorry.
You're a wild guy, Rob. Okay, this is a good question. As Sam Flaps on Twitter, how important is a good skateboard?
I think it's really important depending on your level. If you want to evolve and really become, be able to do a lot of tricks and take it to a second tier, I'd equate it to like you could play golf with any golf clubs, you could go rent clubs. Skateboarding's the same way, but if you really want to evolve your game, if you will, you have to buy
What does a great one cost?
$120
That's
max.
all?
Yeah.
Ken Dawson via Twitter wants to know, do you plan to have kids, and will they follow in your footsteps?
I've had this theory of like maybe I'll impregnate like 5 different girls at the same time of all different races and have like a small army. So that would
And
be
then
fun.
promote it, point it into a show somewhere.
I wouldn't point it in the show.
Rob's Family.
Maybe.
We play a little game here, If You Only Knew. You remember the first girl you kissed?
I don't remember her name, but I remember her, yes.
It was in Ohio, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
How old were you, Rob?
Well, now that I think about it, I can't think. I want to say I was probably in the 5th grade up on the hill behind the school, just locking in, you know.
Locking in. What was the worst skateboarding injury you ever had?
I got a bone spur in my ankle and had to have surgery on my ankle to get it removed.
That's it?
That's it.
City with the best skate parks.
City with the best skate parks, hands down, nowhere in the world even compares, because we created a straight movement as the city of Los Angeles. Like 5 years ago, there was 0. Today, there's probably 30.
Biggest misconception about L.A.?
That everyone's fake and phony, you know.
Yeah, I love LA.
It's like the reality of there's fake and phony people everywhere in the world. I don't
Dayton,
gravitate.
Ohio, too.
Yeah.
Craziest proposed task from a fan.
Man, I had a fan tattoo. I had this article in the Wall Street Journal about someone buying my car on eBay, and she got the Wall Street Journal. They do that real nice etch of your face. She got it tattooed on her, and then asked me to sign it so she could tattoo my signature on it. And I said, absolutely not. Like, no more tattoos. Like, this is ridiculous. And then a year later, I saw her again in another autograph signing, and she took the signature I did on the poster and just had it done on her body.
You run into weird people, right?
I live a weird life.
Biggest accomplishment?
I don't feel like any one thing is any bigger than the other. I think evolving and learning to learn that you need to constantly evolve and grow is my biggest accomplishment, and settling in is it.
Most overrated part about being famous?
Man, I don't.
There's nothing bad.
Yeah.
A backup name for the Fantasy Factory.
I would say the business launcher.
Biggest regret?
Man, I don't necessarily. I've got a really bad memory, so I don't remember regret that much. That's kind of the gift and the curse. I may not remember your name, but I certainly don't remember if we had a problem.
Proudest moment?
I think one of the proudest moments is when I finally stood in that arena after 6 years of trying to get this league off the ground and seeing this urban concrete plaza in the middle of the arena with 10,000 people, and it was a pretty remarkable feeling.
What do you worry about? What keeps you up at night?
I think, for the most part, not much, man. And I think, I go through pockets of worry of people that I work with and certain situations, but there's no grand thing that locks me up.
How many people work for you?
I think my core unit that are inside the building is about 20, and then you got to think that's all the companies and all the people that work for that and all the partners, so it's a lot.
What's your dream car, or do you already own it?
Yeah, I don't really. You know what my latest dream car was? I just built like a full mobile office, so I don't got to drive anymore, so I can work in between driving and
Wait a minute, you have a mobile. You drive Lincoln Lawyer. You drive around?
Yeah, well, no, so I have a full-time driver, and then I got what I like to call the street jet, right? So I have like full TVs and satellites and all my computers and everything set up so I can do meetings in between, so I don't have to if I'm in traffic for 4 hours, I'm not pulling my hair out in my Ferrari. I'm in my street jet working.
You're an amazing man, Rob.
Appreciate it, Larry. Appreciate it.
Special thanks to my guests, Rob Dyrdek. They don't come any better. His shows, Ridiculousness and Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory, airs Thursdays at 10 and 11 p.m. on MTV. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at King's Things. I'll see you next time. Zoom.